Today, I'm going to be showing you the differences between the Jujutsu Kaisen manga and its anime counterpart. We're going to be covering the Cursed Womb arc. Warning, there will be spoilers for the arc. I basically summarize and analyze it, so yeah, you're going to get spoiled. And without further ado, let's jump into the humbling Cursed Womb arc. We start outside a juvenile detention center. A meek man in a suit tells us that the curse is verified as a cursed womb and that 90 people inside have been evacuated. And only a few people are left inside the building. And everyone in a 50-meter radius has been moved. However, 5 detainees are still inside. It's important to verify the type of cursed womb, as if it is one that is metamorphized, it will most likely become a special grade, and way out of their league. Itadori, being the only one who is not well versed in the curse techniques in this story, has always acted as the viewer who doesn't know the world that we are being placed into, so people can just explain it to us, because we are Itadori. This type of technique is used in shonen stories very, very often. It's why so many main characters are a little less bright than one might think they should be, or at least usually unfamiliar with the topic at hand. For example, Goku's no idiot when it comes to fighting, as we've seen from all of Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, but he has no idea how to channel God Ki. But here's the rundown. Grade 4 is the weakest grade. These curses can basically be beaten by a wooden bat. They're incredibly weak, no stronger than a cat. A grade 3 is the next step up. A handgun would be sufficient to take one down. It's the same strength as the average human. A grade 2, even with a shotgun, it's a close call. I would put it on par with the strength of maybe an elephant or a brown bear, or maybe even a gorilla. Grade 1, even a tank wouldn't help against this sort of curse. And a special grade is undetermined. It's anything that is stronger than a grade 1. So maybe a nuclear cluster bomb might be sufficient. This stresses Itadori and helps me notice something. In the average conversation in the anime, the characters' faces do not tend to change their expression very much, at least compared to the manga. Just look at Nobara's reaction to Itadori's lack of knowledge about the special grade. Side by side and see how much their faces change compared to one another. Preference of art style aside, it is a tiny change. The other one shows a completely separate angle and a much funnier and engaging emotion. The anime's just looks like resting bitch face. The man explains they're here because this line of work is always lacking, which we already know due to the pre-established fact that there are very few Jujutsu sorcerers. That being said, they are not to fight under any circumstances. If they encounter a special grade, they must run. Their mission is strictly to verify the grade and rescue any survivors. It's at that moment that a woman runs through the perimeter. The woman begging asks, is her son Tadashi okay? He's one of the inmates inside. She's then hushed and hurried away to safety. This gives Itadori a newfound drive. Fears are gone, and he is eager to save whoever he can. He calls to Nobara and Megumi, who answer in kind and press forward to the entrance as the meek man activates the veil. The veil is something that acts as a barrier to stop more people from seeing inside and can block people out. This technique is used to keep the Jujutsu world hidden from the outside world. Entering the detainment center. The moment the group enters the building, they find the interior transformed into an industrial pipe maze. Panic sets in for Itadori and Nobara, which by the way is far more hilarious in the anime, with the graphics and actually being animated. Megumi lets them know that there is no need to panic due to the fact that his demon dog Shinigami can smell the exit. This leads to a transaction when Itadori compliments Megumi, and Megumi reluctantly accepts it. Seems that he might be warming up to Itadori. But then we see the next page as a quite drastic tone shift. But this is only in the manga. The anime, for some reason, we get a 10-second long walking sequence that is basically completely silent. And I think it's only there so that the music has time to build to an emotional climax upon finding the bodies. However, I think the immediate shock of turning the page and seeing the bodies is far more impactful. The body they find is Tadashi, the mother's son, along with 2 other meatball of men. Itadori and Megumi get into an argument over whether they should bring the bodies back at all, which brings Megumi to say something that he probably shouldn't have. He's not worth saving. He's not even worth saving alive. Why would we bother saving his body? This is a juvenile detention center, and this guy in particular was caught driving without a license and hit a young girl. and that was his second offense. She was just walking home from school, and Itadori's naive mission to save as many people as possible and trying to help everyone he loves have natural deaths is all well and good, but some people, after being saved, will cause more harm than good. Itadori rages for the first time in the entire story and asks, then why the hell did you save me? Itadori is literally hosting one of the most powerful creatures of all existence inside of him. If anyone can cause more damage after being saved, it is him. Before the altercation can go any further, Nobara tries to interrupt them, but falls into a dark portal. This uncharacteristically takes Megumi off guard, because his demon dog should have been able to let him know when a curse was nearby. It would have, if it was alive. This prompts Megumi to demand Itadori run away, but it's too late. The special grade curse is right in front of them. Both sorcerers are paralyzed in fear, but the very motivation Megumi just mocked gives Itadori the power to take action. And things aren't so good for Nobara either. She's being swarmed herself. This is a cruel moment for the manga chapter to end. The anime at least comes to a decent conclusion before the end of the episode. Now this is classic shonen, and this particular case is a really good example of it. It's character, conflict. It wouldn't take a genius to understand that Megumi and Itadori have conflicting ideals, but it's a really clever way for the first time for them to actually clash in this manner is when it's the worst time possible. Megumi is a straight-up lancer. Every dumb idiot hero needs a lancer, and Itadori isn't the brightest tool in the shed. And this doesn't necessarily mean that the character or hero needs to be an idiot, but someone who is carefree and energetic. This staple is used so often, it's almost a trope in itself. The Vegeta to his Goku, the Uryu to his Ichigo. Hell, there's a reason why they replaced Sasuke with Saive. Saive is simply there to serve as Naruto's lancer, while Sasuke isn't. Just think about it. Once Sasuke is back in the picture, what the hell does Saive even do? Nothing. He served his purpose, narratively speaking. In this case, Jujutsu sorcery and wanting to defeat curses, and wanting to save people's lives. But what separates them is the fact that Itadori wants to save more people than Megumi. It's down to the fact that Megumi has a far more cold and logical mindset than Itadori. And this is where the conflict comes from. The clash of the optimistic idiot and the nihilist pragmatist. Other than their core principles, Itadori is everything Megumi isn't. Gigi, the writer of JJK, is a genius for bringing up this conflict, especially because of how he handles the next chapter. Nobara is the perfect middleman for these two characters. She falls somewhere in between both of them, but far enough that she stands alone as her own character. And I almost find it funny, as in this instance, when she's about to perform her service to the plot and break up the argument between the two of them, she's moved away from the argument. When we turn the page, we're surprised. We don't see the special grade curse, instead we see Megumi running away, as he uses his shadowgraphy to create his Shinigami. We see Itadori literally, single-handedly, fighting the special grade curse alone. It seems hopeless. He's not going to stand a chance. That Megumi should have helped if he didn't want Itadori to die. Then we get a flashback 2 moments before, and Sukuna himself explains through Itadori's cheek why he himself won't save them. Sukuna says that if Itadori dies here, it won't affect him in the slightest. If Itadori manually switches, he's not going to kill the curse. He's going to kill Itadori and his friends. Itadori needs Megumi to go find Nobara and escape, while he takes on the special grade curse. This way, if he has to activate Sukuna, at least his friends will be safe. All he asks is that Megumi gives him a signal as to when they're safe and he can let Sukuna out. Megumi refuses on principle, but Itadori convinces him. Megumi then runs away, using his shadowgraphy to summon demon dogs. There's a few things that I wanted to mention before moving forward. First off, the special grade curse was straight up depicted as a woman in the manga in the first panel. It felt like a bit of a JoJo moment where they changed the gender of Anisui. Back to the fight. Itadori shows his durability. Whether it's due to Sukuna or something unknown at this point in the show, he takes a beating that would turn a normal man into minced friggin' meat. He's being slammed through walls, and when the curse uses a domed energy attack, Itadori stands his ground and even has his fingers and hands disintegrate before him. Itadori is not giving it to despair. However, even though he's holding his ground, he knows he won't make it, and we know that either will Nobara. As she spits her insults at the curse who's about to consume her, Megumi arrives just in time to save her, using his snake and toad Shinigami. However, Itadori is not so lucky. Itadori is beaten to a pulp, just on the edge of despair. In the moment he realizes he isn't as strong as he thought he was. His ego got the best of him, and this humbling moment helps him find out that his drive and worldview will only carry him so far, and it won't carry him through this. Although he tries to put everything into one final punch, it is futile. And then, just as he's about to give up, he hears the signal. The interaction with the special grade in terms of animation is genuinely stunning. We haven't seen much in terms of spectacle yet in Jujutsu Kaisen, but this is wonderful. It is cinematic, emotionally driven, and so friggin' cool. The only complaint that I have is when Yuji is coming to his realization. I felt that the anime had too much going on. That moment should have been Itadori's alone. There shouldn't be a special grade hopping about making sounds to himself, basically being comic relief. Additionally, there is a panel that is very clearly supposed to be Itadori's point of view, and you can see him looking down at both his hands, except he is lacking his left, but the anime centered it on his right hand, and I think it's much worse. Mainly because if you've just lost a limb, your muscle memory is not going to change. I know in terms of choreography and the illustrative purpose of the anime, it makes sense for it to be centered on a single image, but it takes away from the impact of what's really happening to Itadori in that picture. Itadori is looking at his fingers he's lost, alongside the lack of a hand, visually depicting that he has nothing left to offer other than one desperate, pathetic punch. At least we know someone else is taking the wheel, and in terms of pure destruction, there is no one better than Sukuna. However, Sukuna doesn't seem very interested in destroying the curse. His purely malicious nature has him immediately thinking about how he can kill Fujigoro, and decides that Megumi will switch back if he tries to do it with his own body. But if Sukuna convinces the special grade to fight alongside him, then the special grade can kill Fujigoro. However, the special grade does not like how casual Sukuna is being with him, and attempts to assault him. Little does he know who he's messing with. Sukuna is so powerful that he mistakenly heals Itadori's wounds in a gesture of taunting to the curse and blocking one of its attacks. And what we see next is a complete beatdown, and we're introduced to Sukuna's domain expansion. Although we're unsure what it actually does, it cuts the special grade into pieces, and it's revealed that the special grade was only so strong because he had one of Sukuna's fingers within him. Sukuna takes the finger and waits for Yuji to take his body back, but he gets no response. The body is his to do as he pleases. Megumi's made the decision to stay while he gets Nobara to safety. He stays because he believes that it's his responsibility to take care of Sukuna, as he's the one who saved Itadori. We still don't know why he saved Itadori. What made the pragmatist Megumi save the life of unstable danger? This also helps put into context why Megumi got so flustered before with his argument with Itadori. This stress comes from a decision he made to save Itadori, which is the only time so far we've seen Megumi act outside of his emotions. We've seen Megumi act on his emotions rather than his logical decision making. Unfortunately for him, Itadori is not coming back. Sukuna confronts Megumi and tells him that Itadori is having trouble controlling him. So much trouble, in fact, that Sukuna has come up with an idea to make it a permanent change. He rips out his own heart, Temple of Doom style. His logic is that Itadori can't live without one, and he can. So if Itadori tries to switch back, he will die, and it grows more powerful by doing it. Having had his fun, he decides he can kill Megumi now. Megumi states something curious here. It's just like last time, except the roles are reversed. I thought for a while, and this doesn't really make any sense, considering that Itadori is a prisoner and Megumi isn't. It's not comparable to the position that they were in on that rooftop of the school that night. This is when we figure out why Megumi saved Itadori. He admires him and his selflessness, and we know this because he stares into Sukuna's face. Itadori will return, even if it means his death. He's just that kind of guy. Sukuna starts mocking Itadori. He says that he was blubbering about his misfortunes not so long ago. He doesn't have the guts to end his own life, but this is just done by Sukuna for fun. It's making fun of Itadori to coax some form of reaction out of Megumi, but it doesn't work. There's one thing we know about Megumi: he's practical. Megumi is in analytical mode. He knows that Sukuna's arms and fingers are healed, so Sukuna can use the reverse curse technique. Megumi comes up with a conclusion that in order to save Itadori, he needs to fight Sukuna and force him to heal the heart, because it's still damage after all. But how can he? He was useless against the special grade, and he was useless against Sukuna before. It's not a matter of can, I will. The battle that ensues is clearly one-sided. No surprise there. The fight overall reminds me a lot of a fight between Piccolo and Krillin in the original Dragon Ball during the World Martial Arts Tournament. In that fight, Krillin is the underdog and has been for the entire story, and Piccolo, well, he's the big bad. If you know anything about Dragon Ball, you know that Krillin isn't the strongest character. Strongest human? Sure, but character? God, no. This fight in terms of power is insanely one-sided. There's nothing else that can be said about it. However, Krillin's resourcefulness and tactics give him a strong fighting chance. In my opinion, this is one of the best fights in the entire series, all the way up to Super and its movies. It's not as flashy and doesn't have spectacle to the same degree as the later fights in the series, but narratively, it's amazing. It becomes a fairly compelling love letter to the character. Although Krillin loses, as is preordained, he gains the respect of Piccolo and us audience. This fight in JJK, however, is the complete opposite. It has spectacle, but it puts the strongest student we've seen against the biggest bad we've seen. Megumi, much like Krillin, has strategy and tactics. However, Sukuna is 1,000 years old. He is more experienced and is stronger in every conceivable way than Megumi. Megumi's efforts, although great, completely fail, and even his clean blows are meaningless against Sukuna. In the end, he is cornered like a rat with seemingly nothing left. His mind wanders, maybe because he's grasping at straws. He asks himself why he saved Itadori, revealing that he truly doesn't even know. The only thing that is fair about life is how unfair it is to everyone. His mind goes to his sister, her kind-hearted nature. She was someone who deserved to be happy, but she was cursed, punished, while his father, who doesn't even know his gender and named him Megumi, is still alive out there. Karma doesn't happen on its own. Criminals are disciplined under the law, and sorcerers are only a clog in their retribution. And maybe, with some inspiration from Itadori, he thinks of a mantra for himself. He'll save people, whether it's fair or not, and pulls off a stance of a finishing move. Perhaps a move so strong it might even take out Sukuna. But before he can do it, Sukuna freezes up. Fujiwara says that he's no hero. He's just a Jujutsu sorcerer. And that's why he saved Itadori's life. And it's also why he'll never regret it. And in that moment, Itadori takes full control of his own body once more. He asks Megumi to let everyone know that he wishes to live a long life before hitting the wet stone floor lifelessly. While this fight in the anime certainly looks good, it feels like they drastically missed the tone. In the anime, Megumi seems to put up some form of defense against Sukuna. The multiple extended scenes granted Megumi more space and attention in the anime, while in the manga, it's panel to panel of him getting pummeled and destroyed, with the single moment of hope, which is instantly destroyed alongside his snake Shinigami. And due to this, in the anime, it makes the reveal of the secret technique dulled. The pure utter and helplessness version of the manga makes it truly feel like Megumi's last act. But to me, the anime simply felt like it came across as a less impactful move. With that in mind, it's imperative that they pay off this expectation, and displaying that in a way which isn't his last option, or at least doesn't feel that way, well, of course it's then going to fail to live up to the expectations set. It's worth pointing out something I did include. Sukuna was looking for something in Megumi. He recognized the techniques he uses, and maybe he wanted to see that final move in particular. In conclusion, I prefer the manga's version. It's a very rare thing that I won't in these cases, but the purpose of an anime is to faithfully adapt the manga. Where it can distance itself from the manga is in its animation. And I can't say the anime didn't succeed in this. However, dramatic moments written in this narrative style work better panel to panel. There's a lot of instant reveals in this arc in particular. When you're reading the manga, although the videos guide you, most of what you're anticipating is within your own head. You're constantly thinking about where it's going to go, and you have to set the tone. And for that reason, surprise in particular hits much harder. That's why the final reveal of Itadori turning back is so much more impactful in the manga.